Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. I'm your host Scott and back with me as always is my good friend Dan. And on this week's episode we are previewing British Champs, the Aquatics GB Swimming Championships 2025 if you want the long version. We're going to call it British Champs throughout this episode. We're going to be previewing all the racing, most of the racing. We're not going to give you guys every single event like we did last year. It isn't an Olympic trials and we don't want to keep you here for 2.5 hours.
It was 2.5 hours, wasn't it?
It was
a really long time, to be fair. Yeah.
And to be honest, we don't have 2.5 hours tonight as we're recording, and I've got to turn this around and edit this and get it up this week. But nevertheless, we're going to talk through, I think, 6, maybe 5 topics of key discussion on this week's episode. But before we get into it, we want to let you guys know that this week's podcast is brought to you in partnership with One Flow Aquatics in Summer Bay, the newest destination for your warm weather training camp on the Red Sea in Egypt. Now you can book your training camp now or just inquire following the link in the show notes of this podcast, which will send you guys over to Sports Abroad, the renowned sports booking agency in the UK. Now, Dan, like I said, this is one of our biggest podcasts of the year, but it's also one of the most exciting ones because it is a bit of a culmination of British swimming. We get to really see what swimmers are at this year before we start heading to the major competitions. And let's not forget, this is essentially trials for World Championships, even though there's like 2 other teams that swimmers can make their way onto this summer. There's lots of racing to be had.
It is one of the more exciting times of the year for British swimming as the best in the country face off for places in the major summer competition, like you were saying, which is Worlds in Singapore. And if it's anything like last year's event, we're in for a real treat because I'll tell you what, being poolside for that was a real spectacle. And we've been promised, based on last week's episode, that it's going to be somewhere close to it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Yeah, we heard last week's episode with Drew Barron, the CEO of Aquatics GB. Go back and listen to that one if you haven't already. Hearing about how he's trying to grow the sport in and out of the pool. But yeah, I think that's a really good starting point to touch upon then. Last year's event. So it was the first time in a while that it's gone to the London Aquatics Centre, as it should be. I think this is the showcase competition for UK swimming. We should be using the showcase pool. The Olympic pool in 2012. I work in architecture. I love that pool for a very good reason, not just swimming-wise.
Yep.
This is where the meet needs to be. Last year kind of set the standard. It was all bells, all whistles on BBC, on Channel 4, on YouTube as well. This year it is just on BBC, I think, for the final sessions. And that's confirmed for the next 2 years, which is important if we're going to continue the momentum from the Olympic Games. But I think that's the key thing this year. It needs to continue the momentum. It cannot be a step down.
Well, if we're going to take Drew for his word, and I like to think that we will do, the event is going to be pretty much exactly the same in terms of being broadcast on BBC, like it is.
Yep.
Will it have the same pressure as effectively Olympic trials, even though he doesn't want it to be classed as Olympic trials? He wants this to be the main event every year and feel like the same thing every year. I mean, the Worlds, being selected for the Worlds is a big deal.
Same pressure. I think that's the next topic of discussion, to be honest with you. I think the selection policy has taken out a tiny bit of pressure for some. I think only for some, but
well, we'll touch upon that in a minute, but I think when it comes to the actual event, I assume it's the same team producing the show. The only asterisk, I think, is that there's no John Mason, who's usually on poolside doing the announcing and doing the interviews. I think that's going to be a big loss, but I'm sure there'll be someone to take his place, of which I don't know who that is just yet.
Yeah, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, so excuse me for that. But she is a football presenter, I think, and she hosts an F1 podcast.
Yeah,
at the
so
same time.
hopefully that's. I mean, big shoes to fill because John is
John
incredible.
knows his swimming.
Yeah, he knows the swimmers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, big job for her. But I think it's going to be. Will it have the same atmosphere? That's the one thing for me, especially the pressure of every final. Actually, I know the men's 200 free took the highlights, but most finals were big. And will it be the same feel on poolside? Will it have the same pressure? And this is where it goes into the pre-selection thing, I suppose.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think it's the second year on from this. So in a way, I kind of hope that swimmers are getting used to this now. I know it's only
Well, that's what
year
Drew
2
said.
of it.
He wants them to get used to this sort of cameras and faces type thing.
Yeah, so hopefully that helps the atmosphere. There's not people in their shells. There's people like Charlie Hutchison like perform into the camera and perform into the crowd and hyping up the crowd.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a loss that there's no Adam. Obviously, if you weren't aware of that, Adam isn't on the start sheets. He isn't going to be swimming this year. He doesn't need to swim this year.
Well, he's already pre-selected, actually.
He is pre-selected, so if he
Not that I
wants
don't
to
think
show
he's
up
gonna
at
race,
Worlds,
but
he
yeah.
can show up at Worlds, actually, yeah. That's a good point. So let's get on to selection impacts to Worlds, because this is what this meet is all about. I say there's 2 other competitions that swimmers can go on. There's the LEN under 23s. I think there's a university, World University Games as well that we might be taking some sort of team to, and there's obviously European Juniors. So there's lots of teams that swimmers can make their way on to, but we're just going to be talking about World Championships in Singapore. And there is a bit of a change in selection, that there is pre-selected swimmers based on Olympic performances. It's not overly something that I remember Aquatics GB doing. I'm going to be corrected by the people who are in the know a bit more than me.
Or leave a comment, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But that does mean that Matt Richards, Duncan Scott, Ben Proud, Adam Peaty, Tom Dean, James Guy have their places selected in one way or another. So 4 of those guys have their place for the 4x2 freestyle relay. I don't really need to tell you guys listening who those swimmers are. Matt Richards has his place on the team in Singapore in the 200 meters freestyle already. Duncan Scott in the 200 meters IM. Ben Proud in the 50 meters free. And Adam Peaty, if he wants to go to Worlds, we're not sure if he is, the 100 meters breaststroke. So what impact is that going to have on this year's event, Dan?
Well, let's start with the 100 breaststroke, I suppose, because that will be the biggest loss in terms of spectacle, I suppose, and publicity, I suppose. No Adam and no James will be either, so there will be a new champion. We'll get to it eventually, but I think the new generation are going to be coming through this year in quite big fashion. So that race will be hindered quite a bit in terms of publicity, like I was saying. And then the 200 free, I suppose, is the biggest talking point here, because 4 of them, the top 4 from last year, have already got their place cemented.
They've got it in
terms
their
of the
relay
spot.
Yeah.
So they've got no individuals, apart from Duncan in 200 IM, and then Max, he got the silver in Paris for the 200 free. But does that then hinder the 200 free and lose its prestige in some sort of way? Because Dino's not even racing it. He's only doing the 100 free. So it loses a little bit of, like, pizzazz. It loses a little bit of pizzazz from him not racing in it, for one.
It does a bit. I would say, like we talked about literally from last year, I think there's a pressure release gone. So the pressure into that race isn't as high.
It definitely won't be. That's right.
But there is only one individual spot, because Matt's already taken it individually. They're only going to take 2 in that event. They can only take 2. So that's gone down to 1. So what you've lost in pressure is also what you had a chance of. There's 2 chances to go for. There's only 1.
Yeah.
And like he's like Dino's only doing the 100 free. He's training just for that right now, by the looks of it. Yeah, I mean, I
think some of these swimmers, they're going to be training through as well.
Yeah, I think that it gives them the opportunity to do that. I think he has said, like
he's just training straight through. Qualified for the 200 IM and the relay. It opens the door, both I think and you think this, that Jack McMillan may even like step through and take that second spot potentially. I don't imagine he'll be training through.
There's almost the most on the line is for him.
Yes, in a way. Yes, you're right. Yes,
because like you said, Duncan has already said pre-selection gives me the opportunity to swim through. Absolutely fine. I've got no problem with that. Matt, if he comes to meet and he's just done a drop taper of a week, I wouldn't be surprised, because he's already in the 2 free. He's in the 4x2. His probable target, if you're going to target an event at this meet, is going to be the 100 free.
The 100, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, it does take something away from the 200 free, but because there's a pressure release valve gone for a lot of these boys, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, I do wonder. It comes in like pros and cons, I suppose. But if you have less pressure, you're more relaxed. How many times have you heard a swimmer say, "Oh, I tried this event because it's a bit of fun," and they suddenly pull out one of the best races they've ever done? And so maybe that will loosen up someone like Duncan or Jimmy, for example, to come through and potentially even win the whole thing. So it'll still be exciting. I mean, you're still watching world-class swimmers.
Yep.
I just don't think the pressure will be as high on that event, but maybe the pressure will be high on other events, like in the backstrokes, for example, which we'll get to as well.
Okay, I think that's enough talking about selection. Let's go through our top races to watch. So this would be a little bit of our preview of essentially us previewing races. We can't go through every single race.
Otherwise, we'll be here for hours.
We will.
Do that. Well, let's start with the para. Probably something we should have spoken about before is that this year will be para integrated again.
Yep.
So we'll see the best para athletes alongside the able-bodied swimmers as well as. And let's start with the para, guys. I think the women's 200 free, I think always is outstanding. Going back from Jessica Jane Applegate and Louise Fidesz. Now this year you've got Poppy Maskill, you've got Olivia Newman-Baronis, Louise Fidesz is racing again, Georgia Sheffield. It's going to be a stacked field, and that's one race to watch out for. And it is on day one, yeah, I know. Very exciting. And I think another para swimmer that any race he races in, if I'm honest, Will Ellard, because he could potentially hit a world record in the London pool again.
Yep.
200 free is probably the one that is more likely that of all the other events. But honestly, any race of his is to watch out for on the para side.
And this is why I love this event being in London and being this big spectacle nowadays, because last year, for me, Will Ellard made a name for himself in the swimming scene in this country, setting that world record before the 200 meters freestyle, the able body final. And I think it's really important that this integration carries on, because there's so much exposure that these swimmers can get. And we've constantly said, like, I'm going to repeat it again, the para team in Britain is very, very good, if you're not aware of it. And these swimmers deserve as much attention and as much limelight as the able-bodied swimmers are getting, because their performances, they knock it out of the park at every Paralympics.
They do.
So yes, you're right. The women's 200 meters freestyle and the men, like for me, Will Ellard, any event, but the men's 200 meters freestyle, I think, is his standout one. He actually gets the chance to race alongside like everyone in the heats, because it's fully integrated in the heats. It's based on times, and his times, believe it or not, are better than a lot of swimmers out there.
Sure, that's only going to spur him on. It's actually quite exciting now that you've kind of said, like,
yeah.
God, like potentially like 150, even sub 150. That's incredible if he does that, mind you.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Yeah.
But let's move away from the para side then. What other events are you looking forward to? Because I've got 3 that I'm going to end this segment with.
Are you going to end with 3?
I'm going to end with 3.
I was going to say the women's 200 IM, but then realised that Freya Colbert isn't racing it, which is a big shame for me. It's still a massive race when you've got Abby, Katie, Leah, new swimmers coming through like Phoebe Cooper or Emily Smith. Like, it's a big, big race. But it's not going to make, let's say we have a top 3 each. That's not my top 3.
Okay.
I'd probably say there's a toss-up between the two of them, but both the women's 100 and 200 backstroke is massive. Absolutely massive, in my opinion. I like Holly McGill came away as a winner in bucks, ahead of Honey Osrin, ahead of Casey Shanahan, who both were Olympians, of course. Freya Colbert is racing that 200 backstroke as well, so that makes it a 4-headed monster race. And then 100 backstroke, including those girls, apart from Freya, you've got Lauren Cox, you've got Kathleen Dawson, a young swimmer, Blythe Kinsman, coming through. It's a monster. That's a final right there. That's probably that 100 backstroke for women is my standout race in terms of the actual race itself. Like, times wise, there might be different races, and we'll get to British records eventually. But I think the race for me is the women's 100 backstroke. That is a big, big race.
Do you reckon you could pick a winner for it?
No.
I would say right now, Lauren Cox has been flying.
She's probably favourite, I would say, going
She's been absolutely flying, but I've got no idea what. Yeah. Because we've not seen a thing from Kathleen Dawson, and I would say Holly McGill, Honey Osrin, and Katie Shanahan, whenever we've seen them, been heavy training and focused more at the 2. But given that this is a World year and there's a 50 back at Worlds, I think Lauren's going to be absolutely gunning to make this team, because she's got a bronze in the 50 metres backstroke at World Championships, that she's going to want to go better. But she's only going to get that opportunity if she qualifies in the 100.
Yes. Yeah. And that's
really
pressure on her shoulders from that point of view. Yeah. So the women's 200 backstroke, 100 backstroke as well. And then on the men's side, I'm really looking forward to the 100 fly. Like, it was a big turn up for the books last year, because obviously everyone's kind of expecting Jacob Peters or maybe even Jimmy to get the win, but then Joe Litchfield comes out of nowhere, doesn't hit the consideration time, so everyone's like, well, what happens now? So that was last year. This year, like, you throw all the big guns in again. You've got Josh Gammon, Jacob Peters, Ed Mildred is swimming really well, who I really wanted to see him do well. Jamie Ingram, Joe Litchfield, Lewis Fraser. Like the field is stacked. Maybe they're not like the sort of level of, let's say, your 200 free where it's like Olympic sort of gold medal standard, but race-wise, drama-wise, this is up there for me.
Interesting you say that, because last year we were heading in thinking Jacob Peters was that level.
Yes.
Like, he's got a 51 low in him, so I'm really excited to see if
Very much so.
it was a blip at last year's competition and it just didn't hit right in the final. Like, his heat swim as well was so good.
In the consideration time in
Yeah, so he's definitely,
I think. Yeah.
he's going to be going in wanting to set that right. And it's interesting that you put that as your, like, one of your top races to watch, because it was probably the one on poolside last year where everyone just went, oh.
Yeah, I know.
It was the complete opposite of race to watch, because
Yeah.
there were so many permutations on the line with the Olympics that no one had a clue.
Well, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of my psyche. Like, well, we're still kind of
You want to correct it.
Question marks. Like, who is the number one fly swimmer in this country right now? And honestly,
Well,
I
I
don't
still
think
don't know.
No one knows. So I think this race needs to happen to get that question answered. So yeah, there's my top three, I think. What about your top three?
Okay, so I'm going to go through my three, and I'm going to end it with something very, very important. Okay?
All right.
So, my first one is the women's 200 meters freestyle, because that is always a monster, and we've forever built up the men's 200 meters freestyle. I think the women's side needs a bit more attention, given that you've got Freya Anderson potentially back now from glandular fever. She's up in Stirling as well. And if me and you if we had been asked by any neutral swimmer which performance centre last year would you want to see a swimmer go to, it would have been Stirling. The performances that were coming out of there were outstanding.
Yeah.
Now she's up there. You've got Freya Colbert, who's still doing Freya Colbert things, knocking records off buck swims. She's, I think, right now getting close to the British record in this event.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
Could it go? Yeah, you're right. We're talking British record soon. Then you've got Abby Wood, you've got Lucy Hope, maybe Leah Slosson, maybe a few other swimmers who step up. But I know this relay team, they want to be a force to be reckoned with on the international stage. They want to get onto an international podium and match the men's side. And racing against each other at the London Aquatics Centre, this is how you do it. And I actually think Freya, Abby, that head-to-head, that three-way monster at the top of that race on day one is going to be outstanding. They're going to be fresh. For two of them, I would say this is not their main event.
Well, it's funny that, I mean, the para 200 free, obviously, for the women, and you've got Aba Body 200 free for the women. Two massive races back-to-back.
Yep.
And I was going to take away the big relay factor that they do want to make this team as good as the men's side. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to European side of swimming, these guys are probably going to win, I think.
Next
but
year.
you just got to throw in the Australians, the Americans, and the Chinese, and then it gets really quite tough. And the Canadians, of course. And it gets tough then. But I think all these swimmers are really, really young.
I still don't know that we know what they're all capable of in this.
No, that's the thing. I think Abby is the oldest, 26 maybe. Everyone else is younger than that. So you just never know how much more there is in the tank. Very exciting. Yeah, probably, that should be in my top three. Yeah, top five.
I may have stolen these. We wrote a note beforehand, just revealing behind the curtain, and I may have written these three straight away and given Dan no choice.
Yeah. The backstrokes for me are always going to be there. But yeah, anyway, is that your number three? Is that one?
Oh, I'm not ordering these.
No order. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Next up will be the men's 100 meters backstroke, just because I actually think we've got a world-class head-to-head on the line. I think these two swimmers have heads and shoulders right now. And if you put them into an international field, potentially both could final. I know Ollie is certainly very capable of it. Ollie Morgan, he got within inches of the British record at Bucks, his last ever Bucks swim long course. I know he's a little gutted not to get the British record there, but I think if it all goes right in London, he's getting it in this pool with a bit of a taper. He's not really tapered yet this year. Yep. And then you've got Johnny Marshall, who has been tearing up trees at NCAAs. He didn't come away with a title, just got pipped by Hubert Koss. But all year for Florida, he has been destroying. And his underwaters, if you're in London and watching, his underwaters are better than anyone in Britain.
I'm not going to argue with you. Yes,
they
I think
you
might be right.
Phenomenal. And when they're phenomenal, you do the things that he's been doing at NCAAs and breaking Ryan Lochte's Florida Gator records and stuff like that.
I mean, that relay that they did as well, and because there's Alex Painter in that team as well. So two of the four of those guys are British. yeah, he is one to watch out for. It's a big head-to-head there. I know there's other swimmers in that race as well, but these are the two guys to watch. They both went to the Olympics. I know Ollie is the British record holder. Johnny, am I quite sure? Yeah, I think I'm quite sure he's going to go sub 53.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a big race of the British record, maybe going to be potentially Johnny if it goes all his way. So
who knows? Do you know what I'm most excited about this? While we know both of them are absolutely flying, I've got not a clue what Johnny's NCA yards times means. So I know Ollie's flying, I know Johnny's flying. I don't know what time Johnny's absolutely capable of because I can't translate yards times to meters times. No one in the UK can. No. So he's coming in completely blind. No one really knows where he's at, but we do know he's very, very good this year.
Well, we did ask him last year because he went from yards, again, like he's doing this year, to long course meters. And there's not really a transition into that. He's literally just, I can go yards into long course. Like, surely there should be sort of some fix into getting used to that. Fine. No, he just goes straight into it and knocks out a 53-0, I think.
Well, he also said, like, the pressure that comes at NCAAs is quite a lot more than what he's used to over here. Over here is like a complete free hit, which is it's really, really interesting. Yeah, so that is my second choice. Yeah. And my third choice is the men's 100 meters freestyle. We teased it slightly. I think the 200 has lost a little bit this year, but the men's 100 meters freestyle is deep. Like this is deeper than it's ever been. Everyone still wants on this relay. This relay has some correcting to do after Paris. So you've got Matt Richards, you've got Alex Cahoon, Alex Painter, like you said, he's flying out in NCAA yards. Again, I've got no idea what that means when it comes to meters, but I want to see how fast he can go in the long course pool. You've got Dino. This is Dino's only race. It's not his only shot at the Worlds. He is going for that relay. Should he choose to go, I guess.
I mean, you say the names you've said, like you've got Jacob Whittle in there, Ed Mildred, you've got Dan Jones, Jack McMillan. This is a monster race. I put this on par with like the women's 100 backstroke where the depth is so vast.
Good. Do you know what? It's going to be fast to make this final. It's going to be rapid to make it. It was at the Olympic trials, and this to me is as tough.
There's no hanging around, is there? You've got to almost go all guns blazing just to make the final. I mean, we've listed 8 swimmers right there, and there could be names afterwards. Calvin Fry, for example, like all fighting for that space on that final. And they're not going to hold back. So you can't, if you're one of these big guys, you're Tom Deans, you're Alex Cahoons, you can't hold back. You're going to have to go for it from the gun.
Now, I said I'd end this segment with something very important for our listeners. So if you guys agree with me that the men's 100 meters backstroke and the men's 100 meters freestyle are two of the most highly anticipated races at this year's championships, well, you're going to want to get yourself poolside on Thursday, the 17th of April, because they're both on that day. And because Propulsion Swimming have 2 pairs of tickets to give away to you guys. So if you're interested in getting poolside, then you need to head over to the Propulsion Swimming Instagram account, which will be linked in the show notes of this podcast. And we'll let you guys know how you can win yourself a pair of tickets to, in my opinion, this is why I requested these tickets on this giveaway, the best day of racing at British Champs.
Yeah, head over to our Instagram page, and you don't want to miss them. You don't want to miss these 2 events. Scott is right. These are big races, big depth. And
there's other races as well. It's not.
Well, of course there are. Of course there are. Lots of world-class swimming, and we've got tickets on offer. So get yourself over to the account.
Okay, Dan, like we said in the introduction of this podcast, this week's episode is brought to you guys in partnership with One Flow Aquatics in Summer Bay, Egypt, the newest destination for elite and club training camps. Now, off the back of these championships that we are previewing in this week's episode, you guys might be interested in a holding camp ahead of the summer competitions, whether that is the Aquatics GB Next Gen Championships, which we are definitely going to get right every time we talk about that one, and Swim England Summer Nationals, maybe it's Scottish Summer Nationals or Welsh Summer Nationals. Well, you can book your training camp now to Summer Bay through Sports Abroad. And me and Dan were out there last February. We got to see some camps happening with the likes of the Dutch national team, the Italian national team, some world-class open water swimmers when the World Aquatics Open Water was there. We got to see it all, and we got to experience everything that's on offer at Summer Bay. Golf, of which me and you are dreadful at. There's lots of it.
But if you're into golf, go to Summer Bay. There's some good courses there. Yeah.
There's the marina where you can enjoy food, like some of the best Egyptian food that I think we've ever had.
food in general. I just
Yeah,
think that
food was really
food
good.
full stop is just incredible out there.
As you say, every single week.
I'm going to say it's every week, mind you. Yep.
There's go-karting on offer. There's paintballing. There
Yeah.
is, I think you can go out into the desert on some of the quad bikes. And there is also a coral reef nearby that you guys can go and jump in and see the Red Sea and what is one of the best coral reefs. If you want to check it out, I think it's on the Hector Pardo's Instagram. Now, if you're interested in going to Summer Bay, you can inquire for booking a training camp now with renowned agency Sports Abroad using the link in the description of this podcast, or message us on any of our social media accounts to essentially discuss our own personal experiences of Summer Bay. Okay, Dan, we've talked about races to watch in this podcast. I want to kind of round out this segment by talking British records, because I think there's an outside chance for a few, and a few that I think are definitely going. I would put money on it if I was a betting person. I'm not. I used to be.
Not now.
I'm not. Outside bets, I'm going to say the men's 100 free, based on the depth that we've just talked about. I really wouldn't be surprised if that's the race that Matt targets and he really wants to go for that British record, or someone else comes out of the woodworks for it. It's so deep and so competitive that there is a chance, but that also kind of hinders it every now and again.
See, I'm going to put that as one of the doubtful ones. Even though we just saw Carl Chalmers go a 47.2. What on earth? Where did that come from? His PB's 47.0. So the fact that he's gone that quick in this late stage of his career, this early in the season, I mean, watch out come Singapore. Anyway, going back to the British guys. The British record is 47.4, isn't it? That's Matt's, I believe. So he's going to have to, go a PB, obviously, to get it. Will he go a PB? I don't know. I believe he'll do a drop taper, not a full taper. Will that be good enough? I think
it'd be good enough to make that relay and maybe the individual swim as well.
I think it's going to be
for a British record. Yeah, you're right.
I think it's unlikely.
Okay.
But I mean, if I see one, then geez, I very much love it and hands up and say I got it wrong. But yeah, it's going to be tough. More than anything, it's going to be about the race. It's not really going to be about the time. It's just getting your hand on the wall first, second. Well, top four, I suppose, for the relay.
Yeah. I think the same applies for the women's 200 meters freestyle, whether it's Freya Colbert or Freya Anderson. I think there's a very outside chance because I still, like we've said, we still don't think we've seen the best of them in those events, and that British record is within reach and distance. I just think it comes in Singapore in a lead off in a relay. I just have this feeling.
As much as London is a great pool, Singapore is a very quick pool.
It's a very from what we saw at the World Cups, yeah.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And that's more than likely where it'll get broken, where they'll have a proper taper. I'm sure Freya will have a proper taper because she's not fully she's not selected for Singapore yet, so she will be tapered, but I think her main focus, even though it's her first event, her main focus will be the 4am more than anything else.
Another outside one I'm going to start with is Angharad Evans in the 200 breaststroke, which sounds wild, but she's only 2 seconds off and she's dropped huge chunks this year.
Well, this is the thing. If you got someone like Angharad who's taking 3 seconds off in a year in 100, then 2 seconds on a 200, you think surely that's more than possible. So
she's already dropped 2 seconds this year.
Yeah, exactly. So as much as it's an outside chance, which it is, of course, 2 seconds is still a long way. If there's anyone to do it, it could be Angharad. I mean, it's Molly Renshaw's record of 220 high, I think it is.
It's fast. It is fast.
It's very quick, very quick. But I think Angharad could potentially do it, whether it'll be in London or Singapore or maybe next year down the line.
She races it in Singapore because the consideration time for it isn't slow either. She's got a 2:23.0.
Well, a PB is 2:22, so she's underneath the consideration already.
Fair enough.
But to find that British record, she's got to find roughly another 2 seconds again, which I just wouldn't bet against her, if I'm honest. It's unlikely. It is, hands up, it is unlikely. But she's going to be into a big race. Cara Hanlon is racing there. Lily Booker's going to be racing there. Sienna Robinson, Anna Morgan. It's a big race to 200 breaststroke, so it might push her on to go a really quick time. It's an outside shot, but the one that's more likely for her.
The 100.
It's going to be the 100, isn't it, surely?
It's got to go. It's got to go. Every time she gets in the pool in the 100, you're always... I'll be honest, whenever I'm there, I'm always filming in case there's a British record that happens.
Yeah.
Every time you watch, and like you said, she knocked chunks and chunks off last year, and I think the Olympics was like that confidence-building moment that, yes, I absolutely can mix it, and I belong at the top of this world stage. And she had nerves last year, and the 100 breaststroke at Champs just didn't quite go right. The selectors did the right thing, took her to the Olympic Games, and she was incredibly close to that podium.
Yeah.
I think this summer she's got an absolutely... I'm trying to use the right word here. I'm trying not to swear. I think she's got an absolutely incredibly good chance of getting onto the podium in the 100 meters breaststroke. I think she may be... Oh, we discussed this after these championships. I think she might be the best shot at a female individual medal this summer.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think she's got this newfound confidence all of a sudden. I mean, you can tell when she's in front of the cameras, she's doing all these sort of facial expressions and hand gestures or whatever.
She's comfortable now.
That wasn't the person we spoke to when we got on a podcast, what was it, a year or two ago. She was a lot more shy than now. She's almost completely out of her shell, and she's suddenly smashing out all of these times. And I'm fully expecting a British record from her. I think she did a 105 stand-up in training, didn't she?
That I've heard or not heard. Yes, she has done a 105.
I mean, if she's able to go anywhere near that, then it's close to British records, and then she's going to be tapered as well. Yeah, I think that's on the cards, very much so. I'd love to see it in the 200, but I think the 100 is more likely, and I think there's another one that we're going to see as well.
The other British record, then, we've kind of already teased it a little bit. I think the men's 100 backstroke, if it's not Ollie, it'll be Johnny Marshall. I think the two of them, the head-to-head, we've already said. I don't need to go over it again. I think it's going to be wild. When Ollie gets within 0.001 at Bucks untapered, like he did, you've already circled this one, and you've already, if you're the one running the database for Aquatics GB, you've got this one ready to be replaced.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you then. Out of Angharad and Ollie, which one is more likely to hit the record in their respective races?
I'll go Ollie.
Really? See how good
he's got so close, and he's got a race on. Like, he's got a proper head-to-head. I'm not saying the girls who are going up against Angharad in the 100 meters breaststroke aren't going to give her a run for her money, but she should win that by a decent amount.
She's favourite. I mean, Ollie's favourite, but the second swimmer is closer, let's say, to the favourite swimmer. Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think Ollie will get that record. Johnny.
He loves a race. Like, he's become a showman as well. He likes to sit on the lane rope.
Yeah.
Hopefully they check that none of the lane ropes are going to break this year if he does decide to sit on it, if he sets a British record. But he's got his eye on this every time he gets in the pool.
I think so, yeah. And the fact that he wasn't tapered at Bucks and was 100 off, you're probably right. I mean, I'm expecting
tell you what, his prep last year, if you think, let's ignore Bucks, Edinburgh International, this year he was 0.6 faster than he was last year. And he set a British record at Champs tapered.
Yeah,
there you go. 0.6 off, low 52.
All stats are saying he's going to get it, isn't he? So, and I think I said maybe even like last year, he's capable of going 52.5, and maybe that's the 0.2 that he's going to knock off.
I think it might be lower than 52.5 these days. I think that target swim of him is lower than a 52.5.
I think ultimately he's capable of a 52 very low. I think he's going to go 52.5. We'll put it on our Instagram. I think we'll. What time's he going to go? He's doing that for a signed hat, isn't he? Little plug
he is. I genuinely have been trying to get that. Okay, so we've put a lot of pressure there on two swimmers, and something that we don't like to do on this podcast is put a lot of pressure on young swimmers. We've got a big platform. They don't need us talking about their swims, whereas the guys right at the very, very top, you know. It's professional sport. I think we're allowed to have opinions on their swims.
Yeah.
But there is a next generation that I think are really going to start breaking through on this. And Dan, this is kind of what you've been banging the drum for the past, how many, 2 months?
Yeah, quite a while, if I'm honest. Yeah, I've got a massive list of who all the swimmers I want to watch. Some of them we've spoken about. Johnny Marshall, Alex Painter, doing so well out in America right now. Coming to see them in London is a massive plus point for the guys watching in the crowds. But let's start with the para swimmers. Iona Winifred is only 14, I believe, so still very young. Did go to the Paralympics and won silver, I believe, in the 100 breaststroke. She'll be racing that event. 200 IM, 53, 50 fly as well. She's got a massive future. I mean, she's the same sort of age as someone like Ellie Simmons and Maisie Summers-Newton were when they first started.
Yeah, she's got a real chance to make a name for herself at this meet.
Oh, very much so, yeah. A very long career ahead of her. As well as Bruce D as well, who's doing 6 events. ranging from all sorts. The 400 free, 100 breaststroke, probably the two standout events. And I've heard, being a Northampton swimmer, has had a few tips from Will Perry in 100 breaststroke as well.
And I'm
I
sure
don't know what they
Maisie's
do
on
in
this
Northampton, but they've got some sort of special drill or something that they do out there, because Maisie's obviously amazing at breaststroke as well. So he's one to watch out for as well, who's got a very big future ahead of him.
Yeah, while you're talking breaststroke then, I'm going to throw things over to the men's 100 metres breaststroke. We've already said no Adam, no James Wilby. There's the chance for the likes of Max Morgan, who podiumed last year, to come through. You've got Philip Nowacki as well. If you have been paying attention on social media, on YouTube more specifically, you will have seen that we've done a day one preview with Aquatics GB. We think Max Morgan has a very good chance of winning. Yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on a young kid, but he was flying at the back end of last year. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. There's a few more eyes on him now, especially with no Adam racing. But we'll leave those comparisons till later on down the road.
Yeah, we'll try not to do the comparisons, because that's only going to be a natural thing for someone like BBC to do, like Adam's next replacement. But we don't want to do that, of course. But granted, he does have a very good chance, as does Philip Nowacki, of potentially winning that 100 breaststroke and the 50 as well.
Yeah, he's a faster seat.
Yeah, for the 50 maxes, yeah. So watch out for those two boys as well. Tyler Malbin Smith at the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, he's looking pretty good at the
distance.
Well, yeah, well.
We say distance. We still don't know what his best event is. We maybe should have talked about him for the 200 meters freestyle. There's a chance he sneaks onto that relay team.
Very much so. He's a 147 swimmer and potentially a 146 by the end of champs. He's one to watch out for. 400 free, 800 free as well. Matt Ward, if we're sticking with the Ben here, always a threat on the backstroke events, the IM events.
2 IM.
Yeah, he's one to watch out for as well. Jack Scarry on the 200 backstroke. All these guys are teenagers or very early 20s. And, Olympic cycle, we don't want to talk about it too much, but in 3 years' time, that's the main aim, obviously, in LA, we could be talking about these names more.
Hey, look, I think we could be talking about them this summer. Let's not think Olympic cycles. Let's think some of them this summer. On the girls' side, you've got Amelie Bloxage, who at this point in time has kind of established herself as a bit of a name in this country. Again, it's not a topic we've talked about too much because she is so young in the sport, but 1500, 800 meters freestyle, she's the one to beat now. Eva Acaro, I think we can probably talk a fair bit of Eva. The 50 meters freestyle is now hers to lose, given that Anna Hopkin isn't there anymore. But she's not going to have things her own way. Like the 50 freestyle on the women's side, another one on the giveaway day, just to tease this, is stacked full of youngsters. You've got Theodora Taylor, Sky Carter. There's so many girls who can take up the reins in that one that, again, you might be seeing a future name in there. And then there's others in like Phoebe Cooper, Amelie Smith. There's a big list of young swimmers coming through who've really excelled at European juniors over the past few years. Maybe now's the chance to start seeing them step up, whether it is Worlds this summer or maybe LEN under 23s that we're going to be seeing. Maybe it's university games if a few of these guys like Matt Ward, Jack Scarry, they're at the university. I think they'll probably be aiming at LEN under 23s if they miss Worlds. But there's a lot of teams that all of this next generation can get onto this summer, which is kind of an exciting time right off the back of the Olympic Games to really fill gaps that have naturally occurred. Like there are natural gaps now in the team.
Yeah, I think exciting is the one word to use here. As much as the results have been extremely good on the international stage with Adam and Duncan and all those guys in the freestyle, Tom Dean.
It can't be left to them.
No. And I think looking at these names that we've got racing in different events, if I'm honest, all over, different strokes, different distances, it's actually quite exciting. When you look at, obviously, the men's breaststroke, that's looking pretty strong. And in the women's sprint side, we've lost Anna because she's retired. But actually, these new guys, these new girls coming through, could very easily take a spot. And it's looking good from a British point of view for the next 10 years, let's say.
Okay.
5-10 years. Maybe that's too much. 5-10 years.
Let's end this podcast then with some bold predictions. And I'm going to ask everyone who's watching this on YouTube to leave a bold prediction in the comment section below. And I'll let you know your boldness because we like to go really, really bold when we make predictions on this podcast. You've got to be gutsy about what you say. We'll give you a ranking out of 10. Dan, I'm going to throw this to you to start with, unless you don't have anything ready.
All right. I've got a couple, if I'm honest, but I'll go for the one. I'll go for one that's in my head. I think the winner of the 200 fly on the men's side is going to be Duncan Scott.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure that's bold because I agree.
Oh, really?
I was looking at the British record and going, can Duncan get that?
Oh, the record's that's quick. That's a super suit time. He's entered on a 58. So, and I know
Well,
he's racing...
he won that in season at Edinburgh.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, blimey. Is that not bold enough? Oh, I'll go for another one then. I still don't know if this is bold enough, but I'll give you 2. So I think Duncan will win the 200 fly on the men's side, and I think Tyler Melbourne Smith wins the men's 400 free ahead of Jimmy and Kieran.
Yeah, no, I disagree with you there.
Well, there you go. That's the boldness.
I think Jimmy will win that one.
There you go. That's the boldness predictor up. What about you then?
What about me? I think we see 3 British records.
Oh, well, 2 we've already spoken about are relatively guaranteed. Not guaranteed, that's a strong word. Very, very possible and very likely. The 3rd one?
Yeah, so that's the 3rd one. I'm throwing it in there. Could it be a Freya Colbert 2-3? Could it be Ang Harrod Evans 2 breaststroke?
That's the more likely one.
Could it be Ben Proud in 50 fly?
Oh, what is the 50 fly?
Oh, no, it's rapid. It's rapid.
Okay. I kind of forget about that one. I think it's more likely we see 2 world records than 3 British records.
Ooh. But the para records, yeah?
Para.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
2 world records?
Well, Poppy Maskill is fully capable in 100 back, 100 fly.
Will Ellard
in 2-3 and 100 free, maybe 50 free, maybe
100 fly, maybe.
Like,
oh, maybe then.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there's a couple of bold predictions. There you are. Take your pick.
Let us know yours in the comment section below. I've put Dan fully on the spot for this, and I've put myself on the spot. We don't even have a note for this.
No.
Okay, that just about rounds up this week's episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We're going to be poolside every day at the Aquatics GB Championships 2025. Make sure you're subscribed on the main Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel, as we're going to be putting up content every day from the pool deck. Follow us on social media. Follow us all over the place. If you're in London, come find us. We'll do... I tell you what, we'll be in the coffee shop most lunchtimes. Come find us at the coffee shop. We'll say hi. We'll take photos if you want to take photos, or if you want to chat swimming. I'm much happier doing that, to be honest.
We'll talk predictions. Everyone loves a prediction. We'll talk through those. Yeah,
off the record as well. Off the air, we can go even bolder.
Yes.
Come find us. We'll be there, enjoying all the swimming. Make sure you get yourself a ticket if you don't win the giveaway. But if you do want to win the giveaway, go follow our Instagram account. And me and Dan will be back in 2 weeks' time. We're not going to do a podcast live at the Aquatics Centre. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, rounding up all the action.
Yes, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.